Per usual, living on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It is Wednesday. That means it's altcoin bonanza day. Naturally going to start with Bitcoin first. We also have FOMC coming up here in a few minutes. Just a quick look at how Bitcoin has reacted to FOMC days. Generally, it's down during the press conference on average, and then we close higher on the day, typically. At least we have for the past year. I don't think Powell's going to say anything particularly meaningful today unless he illuminates his potential path for cuts or no cuts in the next 6 months, which he probably will not do. He'll probably just say, this is all data dependent, and we're going to see where CPI and unemployment are from meeting to meeting, and that's that. So because it's an FOMC day, generally most people are going to be risk off and sort of waiting for that to be over to see what he says. Probably ill-advised to take a extremely highly leveraged position during that press conference. Just a little pro tip there. As far as technicals for Bitcoin, I'm focusing again on two things. First, on low time frames. The 4-hour cloud has completely reset from the 43K breakout when the last time the 4-hour cloud was bearish and flipped bullish. So that is the next actionable trade signal I will be taking. This may continue to 56. This may bottom out. This may make an inverted head and shoulders like it did in January. But if I had to guess, if this does bottom, we will see ETF flows here perk up a lot. Over the past couple days, we've had significant outflows again from GBTC. And the good news there is the quicker they drain that sucker to zero, the faster we won't have to worry about it anymore. But it does look like we are still seeing significant outflows there. That pulled our net inflow for the day a negative to the highest amount since inception of the ETFs. So it makes sense that price is droopy here, is angry. You know, look, it's human psychology. People love to jump in when price is going up. We've gone up a lot, almost 2x'd since February. And naturally, there's profit taking. So from a trend perspective, the cloud likes a 4-hour breakout, which would be potentially 65, 66K as an entry signal. And just like February, it may not look like anything, right? It may not look like anything spectacular. It may just sort of perk up out of the cloud and that's it. Ideally, you get some sort of pattern along with the breakout. This might even make some sort of falling wedge here. The second thing I'm watching for Bitcoin is this potential, which is a full mean reversion to the daily key June at 56. So that's still on the table. And honestly, probably pretty likely, which is why even if you're bullish on the 4-hour here, I don't really think there's a trade yet because the downside is 56. I don't really care that it's 25, 30% from the top. That doesn't matter to me. That's just the mean reversion level. It is what it is. On the 12-hour, which is the singled daily settings, if you're still with me on the math there, we have hit the key June. The problem is, if this continues to go sideways, you will get a bearish TK cross on the 12-hour. And then you'll get a bearish edge to edge to 56, right? So it plays out the same as the daily settings, which is why 56 is super important right now. Looking at the stablecoin landscape, we continue to slowly print a little bit here and there. Nothing too crazy. USDC has perked up quite a bit. Tether kind of flatlined a little bit. But 104 billion, that's nothing to shake a tail at, right? That is a lot of cheese. That's a lot of cheddar. And this will only continue to help the altcoin ecosystem because altcoins need stables to survive. They need the lifeblood of those stablecoin infusions. As far as Bitcoin dominance is concerned, there are two things to look at here. Both are bullish, both speak to bullish continuation. First being a potentially messy ascending triangle pointing to 60%. And there's also a bucket. I don't know what this is technically called, but it's also pointing 56 to 58. The 3-day remains bullish. The high time frames on this remain very bullish still. Do altcoiners care? Should they care? I don't think most people who honestly care about dominance care about alts anyway, and vice versa. So people who care about alts couldn't care less about dominance, is my guess. Nor should you. Look, if you like alts and you like trading alts, go for it. Just know that there's an opportunity cost there. Ideally, you know which alts are outperforming and which aren't, and you plan that accordingly. But dominance moves higher in two ways, either everything goes down and Bitcoin goes down less, or Bitcoin goes up more, right? So anything above 54.5, and it's probably go time. You know, that's probably the move from, I don't know, 70 to 100K or something. There's so much upside news potential. Yesterday we had some Japanese pensions say, hey, we might buy Bitcoin. You know, there's just so many opportunities globally to get in to Bitcoin via the ETFs that it's hard for me to think alts continue to keep up broadly with that. Now, Ethereum today has had a bit of a doozy tailspin. I don't know if it's FUD and or fake news, but apparently an agency, potentially the SEC, is going after the Ethereum Foundation and or proof of stake model. I don't know if it's even legit yet, but this is an interesting little video talking about the Howey test relative to how Ethereum raised their ICO, the pre-sale. I'm not a lawyer. Ethereum's going to win eventually. Ethereum will get an ETF eventually, but it's not happening in May, most likely. So I wouldn't bank on that. And I would trade around that accordingly. So maybe some staking stuff needs to get cleared up. Whatever this nonsense about ETH being a security needs to get cleared up. Whether or not ETH was able to convert from a security to a non-security over time, whether there's a statute of limitations, whether or not proof of stake makes it a security, I don't know. But if the SEC rules that proof of stake makes ETH a security, then anything else that's proof of stake is at risk, right? And yes, there's people saying they couldn't beat Ripple, they're not going to beat ETH. That's fine. ETH has a lot of lobbying power. I fully agree that they're probably not going to beat ETH on this case if they're going after them, but price probably isn't going to be super happy unless there's some clarity there. So on the ETH daily cloud, we did retrace fully to the Kijun, the 3100 level. So we remain rather bullish still, even with whatever happened on whatever news that was. Trend still looks okay here. What you don't want is a bearish decay cross. What you don't want is price in the cloud. So this is going to need to continue to recover rather quickly into April, which is possible. But you definitely have to be careful here if you bought the Kijun. On low time frames for ETH, I like watching this 1 hour channel, 1 hour cloud. Thus far, we do have a bullish divergence attempt, a lower low in price, higher low in RSI. You can see the previous attempts were kind of just meh, right? This one looks pretty legitimate with an extreme lower low in price and an extreme higher low in RSI. Also a potential inverted head and shoulders here. And if we're above the cloud, let's say 3,400 over the next couple days, then that is a very good sign for a bullish continuation attempt. Now, as far as ETH BTC is concerned, this thing has pretty much just been down only since the past week. I think the ETH ETF approval hopium has faded considerably. And this to me looks more and more like a diamond every day and or angry head and shoulders, whatever it is. It's not, doesn't look bullish yet. Okay. So if this is able to break higher closer to the end of April, then I think that's the trade. Here, I don't think there's a trade. I continue to think there's not a trade here because if you're wrong, your downside is considerable, right? Now you could say, well, I'm going to take a stab here and any lower lows, that's my stop loss. That's fair. That's probably an excellent trade, honestly. I just don't think it's going to hold. I don't think the low from early in 2024 will hold, and I assume this goes lower eventually, and it's going to be a grind. And if I'm wrong towards late April, you probably get a pop to like 07, 0.75. But again, if the ETFs are denied in late May, I can't imagine price is going to be super happy with that. So this is shaping up as a failed diamond bottom so far. Unlikely to see bullish reversal, rather bearish continuation is what I expect down here. As far as Solana we'll go to the high time frame. Well, Solana on the 15-minute, you have to find the speed of the market. If you're able to identify patterns and trends on 15, Solana's been cooking both up and down super fast. You can see at the top here, we had a complex head and shoulders, broke the cloud. Great. Okay, we're bearish. 2 inverted head and shoulders attempts down here. This was the SEC and or fake news. Anything above 175 on the ultra low timeframes would probably be a decent spot to take a stab on the long side. As far as Sol BTC and Sol ETH, continues to look very strong. I don't think there's necessarily a trade here per se. If you were to go to like the monthly or some super high time frame, you'll see a pattern reminiscent of a bullish 3 drives, where you have a candle and then it pulls back basically to the width of the candle, the height of the candle, and then continues. So this should continue over time against both Bitcoin and ETH. It's above the weekly cloud, it's above the daily cloud. It looks very strong, any way you can slice it. Before we go any further here, let me mention today's video sponsor, Kraken Pro. Kraken Pro is a complete overhaul of the Kraken trading experience with a one-stop shop for advanced and professional traders. Kraken Pro enables efficient trading execution across multiple markets with a UI that allows for unique optimization tailored to your trading style. You can check out Kraken Pro with the link in the description of this video. Not investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Cryptocurrency services are provided to U.S. and U.S. territory customers by Payward Ventures Inc., PVI, DBA, Kraken. So I thought today we could go through the BTC pairs on Kraken real quickly. You know, you can speed run this. Literally, if you've got 5 minutes a day to look at charts, that's all you need. The cloud means at a glance. So in the time it takes the light to go through your eye into your brain, okay, I can tell you whether or not we're bullish or bearish, whether or not there's an actionable setup here or not. And if we just go to Sol on the daily, above the cloud, kind of a messy cup and handle. RSI is resetting. Nothing quite there for me. But again, what do you want? You always want the same thing. You always want the moves outside the cloud, even if they don't go anywhere, right? You just want to be there in the event that they go somewhere, right? So this may go flat for the next 2 months. I don't know, but it's telling you we're on the bullish side of the trend. So obviously with these weekly setups, you know, if we dial Sol way back, what you always want to try to catch is a move through a high time frame cloud, because that speaks to a high time frame price reversal, which typically is very, very powerful. Now looking at something like Tron, you know, literally the second it was on the screen, I was like, okay, obviously bearish, right? Obviously it's got also a bullish TKC clamp in the making, right? The TK lines are very separated here. It's trying to bottom, not quite a bull div, but it's also not quite, you know, an inverted head and shoulders either. So I would definitely put that one on the back burner. And ideally what you'd want to see in a chart like this would be a lower low in price and a higher low in RSI. But that one's a no-go. Let's look at Ripple. Why not, right? And again, instantly bearish for a very long time. Basically just looks like dead money to me, holding this thing over time. Maybe you've got the possibility of some sort of low time frame inverted head and shoulders here. Maybe you've got the makings of a bull div, but this is not something that I get excited about. On the long side, it's got to be above the cloud. That's my line in the sand. Monero. Now Monero had some issues with the delisting announcement on another exchange. Previously though, it was setting up before this broke down, right? Before this broke down, it actually looked really good. And the technicals don't lie, because the moment you were below the cloud, the moment this inverted head and shoulders failed, that was your sign. That's always your sign. Anytime you are failing a bullish reversal attempt, universally, you should expect bearish continuation. Just like the diamond bottom on ETH, if that fails, it's probably going lower. And since that day, Monero BTC has continued to go lower. Now down here, you do have a bull div in the making. You do have a TKC clamp, right? Now, most of these alts against Bitcoin, you will understand why Bitcoin dominance looks as bullish as it does, because most of these alts look really bearish against Bitcoin. Let's look at ADA. And again, this is not, you know, let's get rid of these old annotations. This is not something that looks bullish at all, right? It's way below the cloud and just kind of melting like a snow cone in July, okay? You want to be here. You want to live above the cloud. That would be all the way up here. So definitely not a bullish chart. Matic, same thing. This has been a bearish since really mid-2023. A few attempts here, but it just can't hold it. It cannot hold above the cloud, and lower it goes, right? Again, what do you hope for? Eventually a bull div that sticks, but nothing here looks bullish against a Bitcoin yet. Link also broke down pretty handedly, along with kind of everything else, right? Like this is a similar story on most alts right now. Doge. Messy, not happy, okay? It is above the cloud, so I'll give you that. It's certainly better on a relative value basis than most everything we've seen so far. It did have this Adam and Eve characteristic to it that broke out, okay? It's just not convincingly a trade here, right? You know, a trade would be at 208, or let's just let everything reset. Come back in another month. Maybe we get another bullish breakout attempt on the daily, but this does not look like anything that I want to sit in here. PAXG is gold, so gold against Bitcoin. And even though gold has broken all-time highs, right? Gold against Bitcoin continues to look very bearish to me. Now you could argue down here that you've got kind of the inverse Bitcoin daily RSI with head and shoulders on that version, an inverted head and shoulders on this version, a bull div attempt. But this is not bullish until it's above the cloud, right? So still nothing that gets me excited so far. Let's look at DOT, same thing, below the cloud. And again, you're telegraphed with a reversal pattern even before this breaks down, right? So let's say you get bullish on the breakout. By the time you're back to 16K sats, which I think that is what that is, this just says get out and continues to not look pretty at all on the daily. And it's really been bearish. Geez, it's been bearish since 2021. It just cannot hold those highs on the daily cloud. Storage, bearish, right? I mean, this is how easy this is with the cloud. I'm just sorting this by volume, by the way, for the day. On the layer ones, Mina below the cloud, angry, no chart pattern, no div quite yet. Just nothing. There's nothing there, right? SNX, this one started to look good on the USD pair, but failed just like DOT did, right? Again, you get this triple top head and shoulders type stuff. And that is not something that's screaming, hold this on the long side. Atom, same thing, right? Still no winners here against Bitcoin. Everything's just bearish, bearish, bearish. Now, Filecoin looks okay, right? Is it bullish? No. Is it outright, downright bearish? Also no. It's about as bullish as ETH is on the diamond bottom, right? This could be a very long journey into like Q4 this year or later, if this wants to break out. So there's an opportunity cost sitting in this. This is a mess. This is definitely not bullish, but it is less bearish than everything else so far, right? At least it's holding a low. Now, if this makes a lower low below 1,000, I think that's 1,000 sats. Maybe it's 10,000 sats. That would be your stopping out point against BTC. Alternatively, what to watch for would be a move into the cloud for the first time on the weekly, right? This has been bearish basically since inception against Bitcoin. And it's not going to leave without you. So you're playing fine just doing nothing here and waiting. You can even set alerts for this level on Kraken. When you're logged in, just right click anywhere on the chart and the top option here will be set an alert at X price. So still nothing. Let's look at everyone's favorite LTC. Now, I don't understand the attention and mind share that LTC gets. This thing has been down only for a very, very long time. And I get it. People are excited that maybe it's a bottom, right? That's ugly and nonsense. There's nothing there. Still bearish. Ocean. Now here we go. Finally something with some old notes here. Finally something that has a setup, has an actionable move higher. This is a massive inverted head and shoulders. On the daily, it has already started to break out. So I do like this above 2,000 sats to the long side. Finally, a chart that looks halfway decent. GRT has been doing very well on the USD pair. The weekly here starting to get into the cloud. And again, you want to see this pain journey, this struggle, this just years of sideways nothing, right? So again, against Bitcoin, which is saying something because Bitcoin's been very strong. Against Bitcoin, this is starting to get into the weekly cloud. So this is what you'd be watching on Filecoin. But this looks very strong to me, potentially. Against Bitcoin, that looks like a trade as well as Ocean. ENJ, this looks more like, the Filecoin diamond attempt. This needs lots of time. Definitely not bullish. We can check that on the daily, but also just kind of noisy chop. Everyone else's favorite. If Litecoin's not your favorite and you've been around for a few years, there's always Zcash. Now this has been down only since mid-May, Not a single close above the daily cloud since mid-May, right? The cloud is trying to help you. The cloud is your friend. The trend is your friend. You could argue up until this point, maybe there was some expectation of some bullish anything, right? But that quickly was dashed much lower. And there just hasn't been a reason to sit in this thing. Now you could argue all the way down here, as the keen-eyed chart patterners will tell you, that you've got a bull div, you've got evidence of a potential head and shoulders, right? Inverted. So I would play this as a daily cloud breakout and just set an alert somewhere in here and wait. This is still not a guarantee, but there may be a trade here, right? Against Bitcoin. There might be a trade here. If you go to the weekly, this thing, much like Tron, when you get this TK separation extended over time, that just says this is getting extremely, extremely oversold. The problem is it's also at an all-time low, right? So I wouldn't just expect this to magically bounce because it's oversold. You have to wait on this, you really do. Otherwise, your stop loss is just all-time lows, right? Sure, buy it here. All-time lows would be your stop loss. So it's easy on that one. You just do nothing until it proves itself. And it hasn't proven itself in quite some time. ZRX, this is something that the cloud has trouble with. When you get months of down, right? And very quick moves up. Now you could argue on the daily, much like on the weekly cloud entries, you could have caught this here at 800 sats, 850 sats. As long as the cloud is thick enough, if we get a close in a cloud that is thick enough, that's a great trade, right? You can always hold this beyond, in this case, 1200 sats, but that's your first target. So this does look pretty good against Bitcoin. RSI coming down quite a bit there. Doesn't look horrible. I don't think there's a trade here at the moment for this one, but it's certainly done quite well rather quickly against Bitcoin. Maker, haven't looked at this chart in a very long time. And this is something that, again, you can just see this thing struggling, right? For 2-3 years. And you could argue some sort of complex inverted head and shoulders. And ultimately, you know, the level is the cloud level, right? The level is 045, 046 sometime later in the year. I certainly expect, if rates do come down later in the year, I expect alts to have a run against Bitcoin. When people hear that, they want to get positioned for alts, but I think you're better off waiting, opportunity cost, right, till later in the year. And again, you can just set an alert at a level, and you'll be happier, stress-free, just waiting for that breakout. Melon BTC, you know, again, instantly, this is not anything bullish, has not proven itself, right? Really ever, you know, maybe in 2020, but since then, it's just been down only on trend. Uni had that pop on the proposal for rev share, but on the weekly cloud, much like the daily ETH chart, right? But in the opposite direction, this had a bearish Kijun bounce. Much like Maker and much like a lot of this stuff though, into Q4, you know, this may pattern out, okay? And this may enter the cloud much later in the year. That's the trade. That's the trade I'd rather take personally. Right here, this is just a nothing burger, just bearish. Algo, also flat, also needs tons of time, right? As bullish as this might resolve, this just needs time. Now, again, like Zcash, the trade is always, you know, let's just take the all-time low. That's our stop loss. You could hold this, right? I just don't have faith that this would move higher. There's a trade here eventually. It's just not today, and that's why we look at these every week to try to catch something interesting eventually. Comp also just at all-time lows, right? I mean, I don't like buying weakness. I don't like buying things that are bleeding, okay? I'm not here to triage the coin. I'm here to buy the coin and hope the coin does well. This just doesn't look bullish at the moment. Maybe again throughout Q2, 3 into 4, we get something here, right? Something that resembles a bullish reversal, but sitting here now does not look pretty. SC, a lot of people asked me about this one a couple of weeks ago. Again, there's nothing here, right? Much like Uni, And that's why I say Q4, because all this stuff is just lining up for, it needs more time. It just needs more time. If this fails, it goes significantly lower, right? But it's started to paint an inverted head and shoulders that may resolve in October, November, December, right? To the bullish direction. Aave also at all-time lows. Just ugly. You know, even on the weekly, these don't look good. Now, you could argue maybe, again, like maybe there's something here on the daily against Bitcoin. But if ETH breaks down, which is another reason why you need to watch ETH, if ETH breaks down, DeFi against Bitcoin also probably going to break down. BCH, why not? Let's take a look. Let's zoom out. Since inception, it's been down only. Hasn't been above the weekly cloud since inception. This may try to break above the cloud here later in the year, but definitely, I mean, there's nothing here, right? there's no trade here. It spends a week or two mean reverting and then just continues to crash lower. Just nothing I'd want to sit in over time. EWT, never heard of this token. All-time lows, right? So against Bitcoin, it is very, very tough out there to find a winner. Let's look at ETC, nothing here as well. And this even had an attempt, right? This had an attempt in late 22, but since then it's just been straight down. Very hard to want to hold this stuff, even for a short amount of time, because the bias is bearish. The bias is going to be down. The bias is going to be losing against BTC. KSM, same thing. I mean, now I'm just getting sad. I'm getting sad for all these alts. And now you can see why people are beating the dominance drum, or have beat that drum for a long time. Flow, much like a few of these, maybe, maybe there's something here eventually, right? You could say, okay, maybe that's the neckline. You don't need me to draw it out, but maybe you set an alert at the top of this, right? And you just wait. I'm guessing if you set alerts on like 20 of these, 10 of them are going to pop 1 week back to that alert price, most likely. And it's just going to be alts party time. But right now it's just not it. Curve, I don't think this is an all-time low, but it is an all-time low on Kraken at least. Just not happy, right? You could say, well, this is a bull div. This has a TKC clamp. I don't hate taking these trades when they've just literally been death for a year, because once again, you just say, all right, my stop loss is at all-time lows, and I just wait. I know my level, right? Let's say this randomly mean reverts to 4,000 sats or whatever this is on some news. That's where you close the trade. Or you hold it for even more to the cloud, or you close half of it here, whatever. But I just wouldn't expect to make money on this on the long side against Bitcoin. Bat. We're just looking at them all. Again, instantly bearish, basically all-time lows. Why, right? Why hold this? Why sit in this? Why expect any strength here? And again, I'm going to be wrong eventually. All of these are just going to randomly pop probably in Q4. But here, there's just nothing. There's just really nothing to buy. We saw Ocean, we saw GRT. That's kind of it. That was XLM, bearish, ANT. ANT looks okay. Maybe you set an alert at 17,000 sats, whatever that is. Potential, complex inverted head and shoulders. Just hope it doesn't make a new low. But I wouldn't buy this here, right? It needs a breakout. ANKR, sorry, right? all the way down there. Kava, all-time lows, I believe, for Kava against BTC. And there just isn't much out there. It's just slim pickings across the board. EOS also at all-time lows against BTC. And again, like Curve, like a few others, there is a multi-week, multi-month bull div on this stuff. And again, just, okay, you like this? Fine. Put your stop loss at all-time lows, see what happens. But I just don't have faith in that as a trade. Maybe you pick a couple of these to try to take on the long side, just because they all look kind of terrible, right? I wouldn't load up the boat with 20 of these, but maybe pick your favorite 5 and take a stab. This is Mana also, again, right? All-time lows, not all-time lows, but multi-year, multi-month lows, just not great. OXT at lows here. And you can see these are trying, like collectively they're trying to diamond, to triple bottom. Something's trying to happen. I just wouldn't think these will hold. And again, you could always say, well, I like Tezos, or I like a few of these, and let's give it a shot, because the upside would be pretty significant. I don't like buying all-time lows personally. Tezos looks quite bearish against BTC there. Nano also, trying, not a buy here, but it's trying. What you always want to wait for is something, just something. There's just, it's just all-time lows, right? Not for me, not for me. Sand, much like mana, just sitting at lows, just kind of waiting for the market to give it a sign that it has potential. TBTC, no idea what this is. Is this like a wrapped Bitcoin? Yeah, it must be like a wrapped on-chain. Maybe it's Tron BTC. Maybe that's what that is. Balancer, that's an all-time low today, I think, or this week for Balancer. And, this is the future for everything down here. Yeah, it's got a bull div. Tell that to the market, right? It just doesn't matter. There's just no bid for this stuff against Bitcoin. Waves. Now, Waves did look pretty good on the USD side, and maybe that's a start for coins on the Bitcoin side. But again, I don't know, what could this be, right? I kind of drew a megaphone or something there. It just doesn't look quite ready yet. But if you like the setup, I don't think this would ever go back to 70,000 sats, whatever that is. But if you like the setup, set an alert somewhere near the cloud and just wait it out. Doesn't look like anything for me here quite yet. Qdom, all-time lows ish. No. there's really not much, really not much out here. KNC, almost everything just getting absolutely obliterated against BTC. Keep, we're almost done. We'll just finish it out. Why not? Keep, all-time lows, right? And you can see it in the cloud. You can see it in price. Not happy down here. Rep, apparently they forked Augur V2 or something. It's trying, right? It is trying to do something down here. Bull div attempt. It is, looks like it's hanging on by a thread along with everything else. Wi-Fi, probably all-time lows. I think that's all-time lows for Wi-Fi, at least on Kraken. GNO. Okay, at least it's in the cloud. Now, I don't think there's a trade here, but it's not as depressing as sitting at an all-time low. Still not anything I would touch. Gnosis, it doesn't quite look bullish enough yet. It needs to be above the cloud. SRM. Oof. Straight down. Basically at all-time lows. So look, if you like all-time low type buying attempts, maybe this is for you. This market, Rarible Rari. I think this is an NFT thing. Trying, right? You have to give it that. These are trying, whether this is some sort of diamond eventually or something, right? Again, with the Kijun retest, just not bullish. Not bullish. I skipped sushi. Let's go back to that. Skipped a few here, actually. Let's go back to Dash. And it speaks for itself, Straight down. Hasn't been above the weekly cloud. Very bearish on the weekly TK separation there. And not quite a div, but trying. So again, if you're confident enough that we're close, right? You may be eating like a couple weeks here, but if you're confident that we're close on something, this would be the level to watch for the target, which is, what is this? Can I measure this? It is, like, that's a 200% move. I mean, that's good enough. So it can remain long-term bearish and still have quite a huge mean reversion, but that would be the level to watch on Dash. Ren, also just, I mean, it's not me, guys. It's the charts, right? The charts are just not pretty against Bitcoin. They just aren't. Sushi trying, just, this is one of the reasons why Solana stuff, newly listed stuff, is having such an easy time right now, because everything else just looks real bearish against Bitcoin. Lisk, nope, right? Trying, but nope. NYM, nope. Not bullish here. Maybe even a head and shoulders at the bottom against Bitcoin. Now that this video is 200 minutes long, thank you for watching. If you've stayed this far, we're just going to finish it out. OMG, tried something, could not hold. Again, you know there's something here. There's something trying to pattern out. There's something trying to mean revert. So I don't hate trying to take a trade on some of these because the moves would be so ridiculous when they eventually mean revert. This one I wouldn't touch. Avagachi. That looks very bearish against Bitcoin. LPT live peer. Okay. All right. Finally something trying to get into the weekly cloud. I don't think it goes to that level, but on the daily, at least it's above the cloud. So, I would start with stuff that looks like this rather than things that are busting all-time lows. BNT, Bancor, just not pretty. Not pretty at all. Just a continued flush, and that is an all-time low according to Kraken down here. Not anything I'd want to touch. And I think this might be the last coin here on the list. ICX, Icon against Bitcoin. Again, very bearish. So just to wrap it up, the only two that looked good, Ocean. I mean, this is probably the best looking chart right now against Bitcoin, hands down, at least on Kraken. And GRT also looked decently bullish, trying to reverse more so than most of those other coins. So it is slim pickings out there if you're not a major on a USD pair. Definitely watch what ETH is up to, what Sol is up to, and Bitcoin, obviously. That's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.